name is Patrick Pacman Perez. Thank you for joining us on this continuation of life. And in between, we've been on a little hiatus out there exploring the world, Morocco. I'm talking about Diana, not me.
Yeah.
And then new jobs, new life. You may see that we are -1 now. Our good friend Jason has gone on to bigger and better things, making millions of dollars working for the man. But we love you, Jason.
We
Anyways,
love you.
today we are jumping into the world of the spiritual. We are talking about mental health. We are talking about the sound bowls and tarot cards. We have a very special guest today, Tina, joining us from the Fort Worth area. Even though I'm down here in Austin and we have our qualms with DFW in general, but one thing we can all agree on is taking care of ourselves is a vital thing that is so needed nowadays. And so we have an expert here who's going to be diving deep into this. And I know Diana and I are super excited to kind of pick around and see what we can learn. And I will now pass it over to the one, the only, Diana Gonzalez Lewu. I keep going
Love
between
that
Diana and
intro.
Deanna. So yeah, there.
Yes. Oh, thank you so much, Patrick. Well, today I'm so excited to having someone that not only do I consider a person of wisdom, someone that I consider a friend, but today we have today Tina Todaro, and she's the founder of Sacred Journey, a spiritual space where ancient wisdom and meets modern life, believe it or not, and we all need that ancient wisdom. And she's a Yushi, and if am I mispronouncing that, please forgive me.
Usui.
Reiki Usui, that's it. Reiki Master and Ashaki, and I may be mispronouncing these as well.
Akashic.
Thank you.
Akashic records.
All right. Records practitioner with over 2 decades of experience. I mean, that's amazing. So we are honored to have her. Now, Tina blends energy work, sound bowls, tarot, and the metaphysical practices to guide others towards balance, clarity, and self healing, which is really important. That's what we need in our lives. Rooted in her Cuban spiritual lineage, Tina discovered her natural ability to channel energy at an early age. And this actually began first with animals and later through her works with people. Today, she weaves her together Reiki, Hawaiian healing, and Anka therapy with intuitive reading to create transformative experiences that help others release trauma, awaken their inner wisdom, and reconnect to purpose. When she's not holding space for clients, Tina is passionate about building community, and that is so true because she does. She works with her community, teaching the language of energy, empowering others to embark on their own sacred journey. So this is so amazing. Thank you, Tina, for joining us today. Before we begin, I just have one question I want to start off with knowing that with your Cuban lineage, how did you first feel? How did you first realize to connect with energy, and what drew you to Reiki and Tara? Can you explain that to us?
Yes, absolutely. First, I want to thank you, Diana and Patrick, to have me here. I'm thrilled. This is my first podcast, so thank you. I'm honored. And that's a really deep question to start with. Well, when I've always been around it without knowing it. My grandma, her sister, even my mom, they would they had these things that they would do and they wouldn't explain. Like I would come from school and I remember one of my uh, like oldest memories is coming from like young school. It wasn't prep, but it was like maybe first grade, and I had worn glasses for the first time. And I remember seeing this little spray bottle that was like a spray bottle for cleaning glasses. And so I grabbed it and I sprayed it on my glasses and started cleaning them. And I saw that it was like oily and it wasn't cleaning. And my mom took it away and she was like, no, don't use that. That's not what it is. It's something else. And little things, or she would like, like grab my grandma would like grab me on the forehead and say a little blessing, or she would hug trees and tell me to do that when I was sad, and stuff like that. And um they would have coffee and they would put it to like they were Catholic and they would put it to the saints, and it was coffee for the saints, and they would do their prayers. And so all that stuff, I just it was very natural to me. Like I would see this confusing things sometimes, or using plants to like sweep something. And um I didn't know back then what it was, and they really didn't explain it. I know now.
Mm.
And so I remember even them talking because of my dreams that I could that I was connected. And I remember I was playing and talking by myself and hearing my great aunt and my mom having this conversation, and I was aware of it. And I'm like, I wonder what they mean, you know? Um, but yeah, it was kind of it really, I grew up around it. And then when I talked about my dreams, they would pay attention to them. Sometimes I would dream things, sometimes they weren't very good dreams, but it was always very metaphorical about the things that were happening around my grandma or my mom, or things they could do or couldn't do. And I think that's really like my first memories of it. And then the moment that I realized it was something more, I was probably already old enough to like walk. Well, no, I was 8 and I was talking to. I keep going back and it's like, no, it's younger. I remember talking to a friend. We were between 8 and 10 years old. She was sleeping over at my house, and I was telling her, well, I know this is going on and this is going on and this girl is doing this and this girl is doing that. And she goes and like leans in like super interested, and I'm like, what are you doing? And her response was, she was a very funny girl. Her response was, I'm listening closer in case you say something about me. I was like, I'm not psychic. And it's like, you kind of are.
Cool.
So
So okay, so it actually started with your family. Okay, so this is
mhm.
something that you learned from early on from your upbringing. Wow, that's really amazing. I know it was talking about how you connected with animals. Can you dive a little bit deeper into that?
Yeah, like I always understood what was going on in their mind. I was very, I don't know, intuitive about that. And as I grew older, another thing that my mom used to tell me when I was young is that I had good hands. And she used to tell me that I could, like I would take away her tummy ache, like by rubbing her stomach and stuff like that. And I always had this intense connection to animals. Like I could connect to them. I could understand what they were thinking, which was really sad because my family's poodle, miniature poodle, didn't really like me.
Ah,
So I could tell. Um, and as I grew, my family, I really loved horses, and I got into horses at an early age. And before I knew it, I was riding problem horses, and there was a learning curve. But then I got really good at having them do things when other people couldn't. And I got really good at like massaging them and getting them to relax. And to the point when by then I was older, I remember I was already researching um, Usui Reiki. I didn't know much about. And I had read somewhere about the mudras and how one hand up like this is receiving, and I can't, I don't know where to go there, receiving, and another hand like this is giving. And we had to operate this 2 or 3 year old cult. Um, in the yard of the farm, and the vet kind of gathered everybody, and he said, you know, he's gonna die. We don't have enough time for surgery and everything, so I'm just gonna do it. He got permission, and we operated on the yard, and it was really hard to get a colt that young into anesthesia. And when he got in, there was nothing there. And then as he was, and this might be a little strong, when we were sipping him back up, or sewing him back up, he started moving as if he was awake. And so some stuff came out, and we, cleaned it, put it back in, put it, hurried up, because poor baby. And when he was done, um we have like a very very famous singer in where I grew up, called Carlos Gardel, which would be like Frank Sinatra, or so, like the greatest singer of all time. And so when somebody does like a marvelous feat or something incredible or impossible, we say, oh, you're Carlos Gardel, you're Frank Sinatra or whatever. And he looked at me and he said, if he survives, he's Carlos Gardel.
Mm.
And I looked at him and he said, well, his name is Gardel from now on. And I remember going and like putting my hands on him, just like I had seen, and started working on him. And by the third day, he was like nothing ever happened. And honestly, he was the most horrible horse to ride. So I don't know if that was a blessing,
Huh.
but he did survive. So
That's
yeah.
nice. Wow. I don't know, Patrick, if you don't, do you have a question to ask? Because I do want to share something, but I'll wait for you because I don't want to just like monopolize. Do
Oh
you have
no,
anything?
yeah. This so I'm coming from a lens also of the spirituality that I grew up with, which technically would be the evangelical church. But tell me more about the giving and receiving. Is that like a universal thing, or is that just like in your little pueblo? Or
No, so that is actually, mudras are hand positions, and they come from the Buddhist, which Buddhism is all over Asia.
Mhm.
And so what the theory, let's say it that way, is that your body positions, they affect how energy flows through you.
Mm.
So there's not, there's hand mudras that you can make and like put it in certain areas of your body, and they will make you feel things. I mean, there's one, I don't know it by heart because twice that I tried it, the feeling spooked me. But it's like sort of like a hand position with like fingers down and up, and you put it in the very center of your head, and you feel your head like opening up. And it spooked me both times. I was pretty young. So that's the theory. So if you hold your hand like that, you're receiving like universal energy. And when you hold it down like this, you're giving energy. And
Mm.
so the reason that they believe you're giving energy is because your hand is concentrated and you have like energy points in your hands, and so the energy flows. And it's very important when you're healing to be able to receive just as much energy as you are putting out, because if not, you're using the energy of your own body, and that's your own energy for self healing.
See,
And
that's so
so,
good for people who need like teachers, thinking you give, but you also,
yes,
it's a balance. It's a balance.
yes,
No, this is
absolutely.
awesome, and I'll throw this out there too. I'll monopolize it now, Diana. Haha,
Go,
because
go.
everything I'm hearing, and this is going to the listeners that might not know the world of Reiki and Tarot, because there's always so many similarities across cultures. And again, talking from when I grew up in the '90s, the whole Maranatha Evangelical Christian Church, it's you raise your hands is an act of surrender.
Yes.
Same thing, you're receiving from the Lord, you're laying prostrate, you're kneeling, then you get to the flags and stuff. But it's like every different culture has their way. The mudras, uh, I guess in yoga, their positions,
Well,
it's
yoga is the position of the body. It's like a mudra for the
mm,
body.
yeah.
So it's, yeah.
And then even in hip hop with b-boying, breaking, your freezes, your poses, your moves, you're telling a story, you're reconnecting with the earth, which even goes back to the tribal Native Americans, and it all interweaves, which I think is, it's cool because I'll say I've always kind of been a little, well, I don't know about Reiki and this, and my wife is, she is also has the same background as me, but I've realized a lot of Christians who come from that world and they start kind of deconstructing, especially nowadays, they deconstruct their faith, but they kind of find Reiki, tarot, and they find that because there's still a spirituality about it. And they can even go back to the Bible, like the three wise men weren't Jewish, they weren't Christians, they were just wise seers who could read the stars. But then people are like, well, no, that's witchcraft. Is like, but is it? And so I, trying to open the mind and hopefully our
Right.
listeners too, that we all have something in common. But yeah, it takes an open mind, you know.
Yeah, and what you are commenting is something that if anybody puts a like their fear aside and they start reading, like my household was always very open. Um and that's what I've seen, and a lot of people see, is that when you actually go into anything, and when I mean anything, even the things that you're like, well, no, that's like, I won't go into that. I invite everybody to research. You don't
Mm-hmm.
have to believe it. You don't have to even think it's a good thing, but understand it, because with understanding comes power. And
Yes.
but also, um you start there's less separation because you
Mm-hmm.
understand that 99% of the things out there, it's different faces of the same thing. They're going to
Mm-hmm.
the same place.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's exactly what you said. And the interesting thing is that I always say the word witchcraft today has been taken as an empowerment thing for women. Honestly, that's like a whole movement. But the reality is that witchcraft used to be a word that was used to denigrate anybody who didn't believe in your own faith, which meant pagans thought Christians were witches. They were Christian witches.
Mm-hmm.
And Christians or Catholics or Jews thought everybody else was a witch. And it just meant that you were praying uh, to a different deity or um, a different energy than I believed in.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at it that way, you know, uh, and then when things got more monotheistic, it became like there's only, like, if you had that worldview, there were no other gods. There was only the one evil thing and the one good thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so anything else, and that's how it got to like almost transformed into this adoration for something that is like, some people don't even believe in that, you know? So if you understand, like, I have to be very open because of what I do, because I don't care where you're coming from. My whole point is to help you help yourself.
Yeah.
So, like, I got to work with everything, and that has been very eye opening in that way too.
So good. So good. Giving. And I think finding that commonality, we can always find the differences, and I'll even say within the church itself, the Catholics are so starkly different than the Episcopalian and the Baptists. And I was even part of a Christian group in college where they're like, today we're gonna pray for the Catholics that they find Jesus. And one of our friends was Catholic in the group. He's like, wait, what? He's like, we're the true church. And it's like, well, no, y'all, it's because y'all pray to saints and stuff. It's like it goes so far out
Well,
there, and
and
it's.
even when you distinguish that, saints are only ancestors that were sanctified. That's
Mm-hmm.
all it was. So, and when you go to, let's say, African religions, that's who they pray to. It's their
Mm-hmm.
ancestors. So like there's so many commonalities. Like it's crazy.
I'd hear that song playing, Imagine if tomorrow, or
Yeah.
what the John Lennon is, no
Imagine all the
reunion. No,
people.
yeah, imagine all the people. So no, this is great, great. Deanna, I know you have all 1,000 questions. Probe, get it, go.
Well, actually, yeah, I do. I have a whole bunch. I have a million and one questions, but one of the things that I wanted to share about the connection of the animals. Tina Tina and I go back we have a history, and I am, as you all know, I'm a Casa advocate, and one time I brought one of my Casa kiddos to her horses, and I actually firsthand saw an experience that was actually beautiful. Was able to capture it on photo and all that, but and keep that memory, and it's like it's burned into my memory that this was a child that's went through a lot of trauma, was a child that was sex trafficked and everything, and a very sad, a very very sad history on what has happened, all the traumatic experiences, and exposing her to horses was part of one of the things that Tina was working with her horses, and she says, bring her over. It's a beautiful experience when children see horses and they're around horses, and it's healing. And it was and I think you know where I'm leading to, when she went out and all the horses came to her
Mm,
and they surrounded her, and it was so magical that it's
wow.
unexplainable unless I wouldn't believe it if I wasn't there. And they just automatically gravitated to her, and it's like animals know when people, human beings, are in pain or need healing. But it was such a beautiful experience that I just kind of wanted to touch on that firsthand. And for Tina, that was something that you commonly see. And
Yeah.
for me, it was the first, and I was like, wow. So I just kind of wanted to share that I firsthand was had the honor and privilege of seeing that. And do you have any touching stories like that, or something similar, or any of your journeys that you'd like to share?
Well, with horses, because
It could be with horses or with any other things that within what you practice, even
well,
with maybe with tarot or
well, yeah, actually, well, one actually with tarot and children, um, I can say I had, I love to read kids, and I had this whole stigma before, brought down by my teachers: don't read to kids when they're too young and all these things, because people think tarot is fortune telling, and it can be, but it's not where where you get the most benefits. The most benefits is when it's the way it feels. There's a certain feeling when you read. People feel safe, feel held. And we actually did some pictures, aura pictures after reading. And I always come in like indigo blue and purple, which are interesting colors: the color of spirit, the color of a spirit as in God, and the color of transformation and
Like the
transmutation.
color of our logo, I'm seeing.
Yes, 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 that's the color. And so it was very interesting, because when you read kids, and when you read some people too, like when you really let tarot do its things, it really touches the intricate questions that you've been pondering about your life. And so it gives clarity and guidance, because there's this stranger that is basically answering the questions you might have when you were driving down without ever having known you or been inside your head, or you even saying them out loud. Um, and so it can be very helpful for clarity, for you making your own choices. And when you read kids, that translates very much to kids, to their level. So, like, if they're struggling with friendships or with school or a teacher, or they feel pressured. I remember one kid I was reading, and of course, the parents were standing right next to them. And they I remember just reading. I didn't even know like who was standing next to him. I know an adult was standing next to him because I was focused on the cards, and I would tell him about this and that, this sport, and then it just said, and this teacher doesn't hate you. This teacher, like, he's actually looking out for you so that you can do better, and da da da. And then I go, and for some reason I was like, and listen to your dad, what your dad is saying. And the kid was just sitting there. He was maybe 10, and he was like, oh my God, how do you know? How do you know? And so the dad turns around when we're done, and he was extremely happy, the kid, and he goes and leaves me like a $50 tip.
Oh, wow. Nice.
He was like, and I'm like, there, it's not necessary. And he's like, thank you, just stay.
Wow.
I was like, um, and there was another one that really touched me because that's usually my experience with kids. And there was this aunt took her the big brother was there, and two younger, and the middle girl was maybe 12, and the youngest was maybe 5 or 6, like she was really young. And I would be reading, and the girl, the 12-year-old, wouldn't say anything, which is fine because that's the way it's supposed to be. But the little girl looked at her and said, "That's this, that's that." Like she was so intuitive. And when it was her turn, I got into it and I started feeling this sadness. And it wasn't as uplifting as I thought it would be. And um I had to look at her and tell her, your mom and dad love you. And this girl just started tearing up and I could feel her. I could see that she was scared of something in the closet. I could see things, and that she was feeling lonely and unprotected, and it just teared me up. So when we were done and I hugged her, and and she allowed me to hug her, and when she was done, her brother told me, it's okay, it makes total sense. And I'm like, I'm sorry, it usually doesn't go that way. And he's like, no, I'm so grateful you told her that, because our parents are going through a divorce.
Mm.
And so, and I kept telling her, it's not your fault. They are dealing with their own stuff. They love you. And I had no clue. So those were really moving with the tarot. And then with Reiki, one that impressed me particularly is this woman came with a cane in a in a what was it? I was giving a talk, and I'm like, okay, who wants to experience, if I can, it will help your pain level and it will help it go down, sometimes permanently, sometimes not, depends on the person. And she sat in the middle of like maybe 40, 50 people, and she came wiggling with a cane, and she sat down, and I started working with her, and she had her cane on her lap. And when I was done, I'm like, okay, so now get up and walk around and see how it feels. And this woman gets up and starts speed walking down the lane,
Wow.
and my eyes get wide, and I'm like, slow down. And everybody burst out laughing because I'm like, lady, don't, and she was fine. She was,
Wow.
yeah, that was,
Wow.
it, it doesn't, it, it doesn't surprise me, but it's still amazing that, that's able to happen. And it's not always, but I know there's certain limitations, but when it is, it's really gratifying.
That is amazing. I was taking a walk with my wife this morning, and we started talking about this. I was like, we have this guest today, right up your alley. And I was telling her, I was like, the whole Reiki and energy. I was like, I don't know. And she's like, well, the mind is so strong. And, because, there's studies with the placebo effect and how it can help people. She's like, so it's just, it's the thinking, it's a mindset. And in Christianity, it's as you think, so you become type of things. And it's like hearing that, it's so cool because I know growing up, it was the same thing. Like, you just, step out in faith, be healed, which it took a really bad turn when people would try to exploit it. The more money
Yes.
you give to the kingdom, you're going to receive your healing. And so to see that this can still happen outside of the four walls of, the institutionalized church. I mean, that's incredible. And, this lady, she experienced something, and that's
Well,
power.
it's to the point that, like, um you sometimes see the body, sorry, that's my Spanish. the, the body, now I don't know how to say it. Just like
Cuerpo.
just like the inflammation go down,
Wow.
the like it's you know, I have so many theories of what it could be. Um but it's like, I will say, I believe it or not, I'm a huge skeptic. The reason I'm a huge skeptic is because, yeah, it can be so easily exploited. And so I write down what I was thinking, what I was feeling, what I was visualizing when I was doing all these type of work, energy work. And I see the comparisons. For example, really quick, I realized bone is really harder to affect than anything else. And I also looked into, like, belief really has nothing to do with it. That was something that, because I had this theory until I started, it's replicable, and it's my favorite way to tell people that are skeptical about it. Do you have, like, this is literally what I'll do. Do you have anywhere where you feel pain? And they're like, if their answer is yes, then my next question is, do you know what it is? Because if we don't know what it is, I don't know what to tell the body to do. And then the results, to the point where people have told me, I feel like it's the muscle. And I work on the muscle, and they're like, ah. And I'm like, okay, let me work on the tendons. And then they're like, oh my God. And especially men, they get
Mm.
spooked. They get really spooked. And they go, ah, you know? And then usually it can be gone if it's not something super strong, or they can go, yeah, yeah, it's almost gone. It's way better. And that's when I go, okay. And it's always the same. Okay, so now where do you feel it? And immediately they go, okay, now it's here and here. It's like it went from a generalized pain to a focused pain.
Mm.
And to the point where it's gone. My ex-boyfriend, uh, first time he came in as a Reiki practitioner, but he came in because we had already met each other. So this was his way of, like, oh, let me see what you do. And I remember he had a pain on his arm. He said, I've had it for 4 or 6 years. And I remember I barely knew anything about this kid, and I put my hands on him, and I was like, and the pain was gone, and it never came back. And so then I said I could feel, where it came from and everything, and it was very emotional, very intimate about his life. And yeah, he was very surprised.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
Amazing.
It's cool to see other perspectives, other stories, and
Yeah.
for all of you out there who are stuck in your echo chambers, go out and learn, live through other people's perspectives.
Yes. it's
That
it
it's important. Yes. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
no, that yeah, it's incredible. That was all I was gonna say.
It is incredible. And I think I mean, me personally, hearing what you're saying and hearing Patrick, what he's saying, I think it's a combination of a lot of things. It's the healing hands, like that you can actually focus in, and also the combination of the mind, and we carry certain traumas and they manifest within our bodies, that pain that, and so it's breaking through that barrier, and then some, I think, may be a placebo kind of thing. Sometimes people need also someone to tell them, and they believe, so but I do encourage others to explore and be open-minded. um so let me ask you this, and how do you respond to people who think that, for example, everything that we're talking about today, tarot cards, all this, um, you know, there are a lot of fraudsters out there. How do I believe? How can I decipher who is the real deal and who isn't, you know?
Yeah, so I learned this the hard way, because my family and I always had since I've been learning by getting my cards read, for example. And my first person was really, really good. She was this 80-year-old lady. She opened the door and started telling me everything, and everything that had happened last week. And my mom didn't know, no one knew.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. And then she looked at me and she said, well, let's see what the cards say. And she just walked out. And I was left there like, my skeptical brain was trying to figure out how this happened. And she taught me the most just by reading me and by almost God spirit also being in my thoughts. Um, I remember one point thinking, I was not, I was, by then, I was trying to make her story or what she was telling me fit. She was like, and this was very much fortune telling because she was telling me, well, you're going to have a birthday party and all these people are going to be there. And I'm like, but all these people don't know each other. And so my brain was going to maybe we have like some kind of biological connection with our brains. And so she can only tell me things. This was my energy that day. I was like, how does this work? And so I was like, maybe she's only tells me things that I kind of already can sense. So maybe like there's something that science hasn't explained yet that we can like actually, our brains get into the same wave and we can connect. And so she can actually get information that I already have. And so she was saying, you're going to have a birthday party in a week and all these people are going to be there. And I was like, that's impossible. They don't know each other. And I was maybe in February, maybe, and she got really mad at me. And she, after like 10 minutes, and she slapped down on the counter and she said, that's what I see. It'll be in a week. Do, 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 do. Let's move on. And I've applied that enough now because and lo and behold, my boyfriend at the time, I was really young, he asked me like, so how did it go? And I'm like, well, yeah, well, do we have a birthday in a week or so? And he's like, oh yeah, this person. And I was like, oh my God, I forgot. That's like the politician in town. He knows everybody. And lo and behold, he's like, when is it? It was a Friday. It was next Friday. And lo and behold, everybody was there. And I didn't. And the main thing is, I was questioning through that type of mindset. And it was almost like God came and said, like, watch this. And I didn't know that that was happening, but she could tell. So that blew my mind. So after she passed, I did had a lot of experiences where I could tell somebody was actually a good reader, but they needed more work, so they were of no use for what I wanted. Or I had an experience where the lady had the cards and she looked like the villain in the Disney movie Down Under, the two mice that are Australian and rescue kids,
Oh, the little
rescuers down
yeah.
under.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
That's
this,
funny.
yeah, she had that long cigarette and reddish hair, and she was like sideways like this, and she was looking at the cards, and she would look down at the cards and look at me. And so this is what I learned. Um, by then, I knew, um, you go into a reader and you are as quiet as you can be and just let them speak. Your reader should be speaking more and giving you more than taking. So it's okay. Sometimes you do need questions. Like sometimes people are so confusing that you're like, are you actually in a relationship or not? But it's a simple question because the line, sometimes readings have different levels. But the more you practice, the more you also are able to discern it without asking the question. But it can be a little confusing. But you shouldn't be asking as you read all these questions to
Mm.
like get that, because that's fishing for information. And what she did, she looked me up and down and she started saying, "You're a very quiet person," and do 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 and do do do, and she was stereotyping me. And when she would pause, I would go, "No." And she's like, "No." She's like, "No." When she finally left me, and so my other thing I teach people, my other thing I tell all my students is, if you need any information, don't look at the person, look at the cards. The
Mm.
cards will give you all the information you need, because the cards are really a tool for you to connect with your own intuition. You can read cards. I can read. I sometimes, for fun, we do circles of readers, and I will practice with Cards Against Humanity, and they're hilarious. It's hilarious.
that, that game has lost many friendships. it, it gets horrible. It's no, so and I wanted to ask real quick while you're on this. So if you had like five different readers in a room, would they all give different interpretations? No.
Well, that depends. So, for example, uh, they can give different interpretations of the same cards. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the way it's supposed to be. Even with tarot, that people go and buy the book. Even when I teach, I always tell my students, some of them don't like to have anything wrong. So they read, "What are we going to do in class?" And they give me, like, when they have no idea, they give me like the book meaning answers. And I go, "That's great. Show me where it is in the card."
Mm.
And that's when it's like, and I tell them straight up, don't do that, because I'm teaching you a language. So if you don't know where it's coming from, then that meaning is, and it's very interesting, because absolutely, because if you didn't have like multiple readings for one card, like multiple meanings and even hundreds of meanings, you couldn't grab, I think it's 78 cards in a tarot deck, and read any circumstance or situation that exists. So they are a tool. But let's say a person, and this is something I always give the explanation for past lives, is a great explanation. People come and somebody tells you, "Okay, you were Cleopatra in a past life," and da 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 da, all this stuff. And then they go to another reader, and they're like, "Okay, I want to hear about my past lives," and they're not believing the first reader, and the readers have not talked to each other, don't know each other. They'll deliver a very, very similar message,
Mm.
like, "You were Cleopatra," or "You were Egyptian," and just give in more details and more and more. And then when the person actually goes, "Okay, I guess I need to embrace that. Like, there's a part of me." And then they go and they ask about, "Well, I want to know more about my life as Cleopatra, blah, blah, blah." It won't come up, because whatever you needed to embrace from that message, you already took it in and embraced it. So they have no reason to keep repeating it. While you were not listening, they will keep repeating the same thing. But the moment that something changed in your circumstance, or you embraced it, or the opportunity was over, the message shifts. But if that's why we also don't recommend readings very close together, like at least 6 to 8 months, unless you're in a moment of choice where you want, but even then.
This is just like the Matrix. So for all of our listeners out there, the original Matrix, when he's talking to the prophet or the black lady, I forget her name, but it was pretty much she's telling him what he needs to hear in the moment. And that's
Yes.
crazy. And because we're recording visually here, I don't know anything about tarot cards. My wife does that. Do you have any there? Could you show us like what's what?
Actually,
Godzilla, Goku, something.
so
The
it's
energy.
funny. It's funny you say that, because I do have like a Star Trek deck and a Game of
What?
Thrones deck, and oh, this is falling.
Are we talking original Star Trek or Next Generation?
No, original, actually.
Oh, okay. Beam me
Yeah.
up. Beam me up, Scotty.
I did before it got sold, but oh, sorry, this is falling. Give it a sec.
Shameless plug. We just finished The Expanse. Anybody out there who likes sci-fi, watch The Expanse. It's okay.
Oh, I gotta
So,
watch
I have these tinies that I take everywhere, but like, okay,
Right there. Oh.
Yeah.
here, yeah. So
A
this
knight
is,
and wand. Okay.
yeah, and then
I think if you hold it in front of you, yeah, the Queen of
that's the
Pentac.
Empress,
Pentacles.
or the
The
Queen of
queen.
Pentacles, the Queen of
Yeah,
Pentacles.
that's the Queen of Pentacles. Yes.
Okay, this is a major arcana.
Strength. And so, who
And
created these cards? Are these like from Bhutan or?
So, so the tarot comes from the tarot key. This is actually the most popular one and one of the oldest, but not the oldest one. The oldest one is the tarot key or the tarot of Marcel. And there's many theories, so this is the one I know. And it's basically an Italian card game that in South America we still play a version of poker. Um, with it, it's called the Spanish, with what we call the Spanish cards. And the Spanish cards have the pentacles, the wands, um, the pentacles, wands, uh, cups, and
Bastos.
swords. And
Bastos.
swords.
Yeah, the
See,
swords. Yeah.
yeah. So
Espadas. Yes.
we play games like poker or conga with those cards, but and that was like an Italian game that then went to Spain that then came to where we're at.
Hmm.
And those are like the Knight of Wands that I just showed you. This is part of that deck, and that deck it used to have knights, wands, pages, and kings, and then it would have like what we call the minor arcana, and it would have like the three of swords would be just there would be just like three swords wrapped in like leaves.
Can you hold that up again? That would be a cool screenshot. Hold on, give me 1 second.
Yeah.
That's a good card. Oh no, it went back to Deanna. Okay, can you say something, Tina? It'll pull you back up on the main thing.
I'm saying something
Got
right
it. Cool.
now.
That'll be a really cool thumbnail for YouTube.
So what happened was they grabbed that card and they added like this card, this these cards that are called the major arcanas, and they're archetypes. Okay, the archetype of strength, the archetype of the empress, the magician, the emperor, all that stuff. And so what happened is um, that became a fortune telling game, like a fortune telling thing, and gypsies spread it around everywhere. There's many historical theories. Some even say, and I don't know how factual this is, but that actually the emerald tablets from Egypt, so the gypsies come from being Egyptian, and so they were the traveling people, and they took that knowledge and the spiritual knowledge of the emerald tablets, and they incorporated it
Mm.
into the tarot. There's a whole theory about that, but eventually that deck, the Marcel, came into what this is the most famous deck, came into the hands of Rider Waite and Smith. I believe, okay, my memory is failing, but one of them is the actual painter of the cards, and the other one, either Smith or Waite, is actually magician of the time. And he was in a, you can call it like a group, a coven, but they weren't really witches, they were like magical practices, so like they would be more wizards kind of deal. And so what they did is they followed the Egyptian rites, and they learned a lot of stuff about like magical symbolism. And then that magical symbolism, um so with all of this going on, the cards were already being used for fortune telling games, and so what he did is he made his own deck based on the metaphysical knowledge. So he includes symbolism in here about manifestation. He includes symbolism here about astrology. So there's Saturn, there's Venus, there's cards that represent that. And he put all that magical symbolism together in the and adapted a lot of the major archetypes with that symbolism. And then, based on the classic fortune telling meanings, he instead added, like, for example, the 10 of Cups was usually a good card for love and family and spiritual. So he just asked the painter to do a portrait of the meaning so that he didn't have to, I don't know, tap into it so abstractly. Because before it would just be 10 cups, one next to each other, and some leaves.
That
And
is so
so,
interesting. So
yeah.
my question now, could so could someone do tarot using like loteria cards? Because you
Oh,
have like La Luna, El Valiente, the Borracho from the game cards.
if what do you mean by do tarot? Like read it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh
Like
yeah,
do a
you can
reading.
read anything.
That's
Anything. You
crazy.
can read
What?
anything. You can it's not about it's not a that's why there's tarot cards that are like for a movie, because you can just grab that whatever the person did, the artist, and let's say Game of Thrones, if you know the characters, when Tyrion comes up, you're going to know that it might be somebody short, but they have a big personality. Or you might not focus on the short part and be like, this person is really smart. Like they're very strategic. They're smart and funny, you
Mm.
know? You can, and because the more you know about the characters, that's just information that you have. And so the cards that come out are not random. They're there because they're giving you a certain message.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. Interesting. Yeah. My skeptic lens is kind of like, oh, I don't know. I don't know. So, but no, this is yeah, it's so informative. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
That yeah, so and the other thing that I wanted to add, it's that you mentioned is that there are also like so many different types of cards, but the key thing that you said is, as you know, like let's say the characters, that's the bottom line, the message that's coming through. Wonderful. Um, just out of curiosity, if you had to pick and pull out a card to represent Sacred Journey, what card would that be? Like,
Oh, that's so hard. Um, and here I am looking at them because I
And what is
I
Sacred
would
Journey? What is that for us novices?
um
that is Tina's actually business. Her she's Sacred Journey. That
Oh, I thought
is
it was a car. Okay. So yeah, so the okay, got it. Just
so because and then we're gonna ask her what she would, if she had to pull a card out for life and in between, what would that be?
got it. Got it. Okay.
those are hard
To pick.
questions. I actually think, and here like there's a few for Sacred Journey that I could pull. Um,
And if you had like maybe three your top three, if it's
yeah.
because it's hard
So
to narrow it down to one card, and
yeah,
that's
because Sacred Journey is my community store, and so there's really I'm realizing there's no really focus card for community on the tarot, but I would say it's on community, but it's also empowering the individual. So I would say I would pull the 10 of cups.
I was about to say that one. I was gonna say community, you have cups. Okay, boom.
Yes, and the Fool, because it's a journey, and the Fool is on this journey, and we're all fools. We don't know what we don't know until we know it, right? And um, I mean, then we could have the Star, but the Star, it can be guides, but it can also be illusion. I could say temperance. I think that would fit better, which is not my favorite card because temperance is about patience.
Mm.
And so, but the truth is, it's also about the universe coming together to put things in place and helping you even when you don't realize. When you feel that nothing's happening and temperance comes up, it means patience because it's telling you the universe is working in your favor. You just can't see it yet. And so I think those would be the three. I could even add the chariot, but I don't think that's quite. So I think those three would be.
Those three would be said. Okay, wonderful.
But I don't think
Uh,
sacred journey would be a chariot. It's taking you. Like you.
Yes, exactly. But
Okay.
yes.
chariot is also about imposing your force of will in the world.
Oh.
And it's like, I'm going to make changes around me. I'm going to, make a dent in the world around me. And so, um,
Sounds like somebody in the White House. Ah.
but it would be while if it would be connected to power of will, I would say it's more of strength, which is strength is the maiden opening the mouth of the lion, which teaches it's the first card I got out, and it's like it teaches about um love over and mind over instincts, so over aggression, how our kindness can win, force and kindness, how kindness can sometimes win over force. And so if that's like inner strength, that's what it really is controlling your impulses to have a clear mind and clear thoughts, and your basic needs, not being in survival mode, being with that awareness of a higher point of view. So yeah, that's why I
Actually
went
thought that was somebody with their dog. I didn't know that was a lion. I was like, strength with your dog? Yeah, you're protecting your dog. Okay.
but yes.
Wonderful. So okay. And then what about like for life in between, what card would you pick?
The chariot. Come
Oh,
on, the chariot.
the
The
chariot.
chariot.
Yeah, we want people to listen to our podcast, whether they want to or not.
Let's see. I would say for the chariot, I kind of gotta look at them to really see. But I don't think the chariot is a bad one, actually. I think the star would be a good one for a life in between, because the star is about it's about how we see things. It's about guidance. It's about, feeling safe and looking at the world through a high lens.
Mhm.
So I would say the star would be a good one. Even the world would be another. I forgot about the world. The world would be another. The world would be one where, again, to me, this space is a safe space to talk about life and everything in between, right?
Right.
So I would say the world is another one because you can go back and and talk about the lessons that you've learned and the cycles that have ended and that now you're free from because you've learned those lessons. And actually, the world a lot of times talks about, because of the internet, anytime the world comes up, it can talk about social media, about connections, about reaching out. So I would say those two would be really good ones, like the star, the world, the chariot, where you go searching for truth, you go searching for people that you want to, have exposure. So yeah.
Searching for sponsors.
That
Yes,
too.
that's So Patrick, before we begin to wrap it up, do you have any other questions that you want to ask Tina before we, because we're coming up close to coming to an end?
So I would say, what are three things, real quick, in 1 minute or less, three things you think everybody should know about tarot? Go.
Three things.
For novices, the skeptics, the novice, nope, somebody who's never dug into it. So,
Okay. It has nothing to do with telling you what's going to happen in life unless you ask that specifically. The other thing is um, it can be really touching and healing experience. So I recommend it for everybody. Um, and you will not, you usually don't learn or receive anything you don't know. You mostly get validation for things that you might have been unsure of or a different perspective, and that brings clarity.
clarity. That's the word of the day, clarity. Okay, cool.
That is clarity. Yes, I
That's
love.
giving and
Yes,
receiving.
forgive. Yes, and so we're going to go ahead and we're going to wrap it up. But I wanted to ask you, what does life and in between mean to you? And also, please, I want you to share your final words, and to our listeners how they can contact you. I mean, like, what's the best way of reaching out to you? So, again, what does life and in between mean to you?
So, do you mean like what does actual life and in between, like what? Okay. I will say, to me, life would be what I want to make of it, and the in between is how it actually happens. Because there's a quote, and I can't claim it. I can't even say I heard it from this great person. I heard it from the actor Timothy that did Dune.
Mm,
But I thought it was amazing that it was like life doesn't come at you, it comes from you.
mm,
So I thought, like, I was shocked. I'm like, I wasn't expecting that in a random, Hollywood star interview, because it's so much truth. To me, life is what you make of it, and what you make of it. If you have flowers inside, you're gonna give flowers, and when you give flowers, you're gonna get certain reactions. And yes, sometimes the in between would be, learning where to be, and, if your flowers are going to be well received, because sometimes you have to realize that you always have power over your situations. You just need to be in the right place to be appreciated, and that's your control. You don't have control over others, you have control over self. So to me, life is you and what you put out there, and the in between is when you figure out, where do I want to put it out, like in what place, and put yourself in that place, and it's the
nice.
process as you do that. Yeah.
Nice. Mic drop right there.
Love that. Love that.
um
Yes.
yes, and well, to reach me, I've got sacredjourney111.com. That's our website, and we're trying our best to make it work all the time, but it's a new website and it still needs some tweaking to do. But you can always find our place in Watauga, Texas, on Denton Highway. Yeah, you can Google us, Sacred Journey Experience, and you can email us. Everything is on the website. Everything is on Google My Business. We're also on Facebook, Instagram, and even TikTok, not as much, but even TikTok. And our social media is always Sacred Journey 111 in everywhere. So yeah.
Wonderful.
Um, thank you so much for this opportunity. I
No,
really
thank
enjoyed
you.
it. I was really nervous,
I
and
got to
this was
learn
a lot
about
of fun.
this. I can
Yeah.
actually go tell my
Sure.
wife now. I know about the Ten of Cups and the Chariot.
Yeah,
It,
well, thank you.
one question: what is the 111? I mean, is there a specific meaning behind the ones?
So I'm not big in numerology really, but there is this whole thing that sometimes when you see a number and you are talking about a certain thing or doing a certain thing, the number that pops up kind of validates what that represents in for you, right? And so 444 can be stability. 111 is this one is about leadership, it's about beginnings, it gives you the strength of potential. And so sacred journey experience was too long, sacred journey was already taken, and so we decided to just do sacred journey 111, and it's worked.
Love it. Love it. Thank you so much for that. And our you can find us, Patrick. Go ahead and let our subscribers or future subscribers know.
Future subscribers, we have read your cards. You will follow us as we have the chariot driving forth towards a star, and we have the 10 cups waiting for you. So look for us online, Life and In Between podcast, Life and In Between, anywhere you get your social media, your iTunes. No, I can't even talk. Anywhere you get your podcast.
Yes, you
So
too know that.
yeah,
Yes.
YouTube. So definitely we're going to continue to do more of the audio and visual so you can actually see us. I mean, we look just like the avatars in our photo right there. That's one of those is me. I don't know. But yeah, it was great having you. So everyone, thank you all so much for joining us. Go tell all your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your priest, tell your imam, anybody we want to hear and take you on this journey with us. Peace.
Peace.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.